back-to-back. You wanted to make it a three-peat, 3 in a row, and you guys were going to find the pieces to continue to add to this very talented organization already. Today, Kyle Tucker, officially a Dodger. Can you just talk about what he adds to this organization?
Yeah, it's not too often we have the ability with what our current talent level is to, improve a team by a meaningful amount. I think bringing this caliber of player in who can, do everything that you want in a player, the ability to conduct an at-bat, along with hit for average and power, I think the length that it brings to the lineup is impressive. So, this all doesn't happen without amazing support from our ownership group and continuing to want to pour back into the team as our fans support us. So we're really excited about this move and feel like it puts us in an even better place to win another championship.
There's obviously familiarity with him, whether it was this past year with him on the Cubs, this past being with the Astros. He's had a lot of success in his career. But when did you what has stood out to you just about him and why he would be a really good fit, maybe outside of the baseball side, just kind of with this team?
Yeah, I think from the baseball perspective, it's a guy who doesn't have splits, right? You could argue he hits left-handed pitch even better than right-handed, which is quite rare for a lefty. The Gold Glove caliber defense in the outfield to continue to raise that and help our pitchers out, and his attention to detail. And from talking to him throughout the process, he's really focused on the positioning part and trying to win another Gold Glove. So that combined with, we feel like he's going to fit great in our clubhouse, and we've heard a ton of work of how much he gives back to the community and is involved with that with his wife Sam. So from doing our homework and both on and off the field, we feel like it's a great addition to our team.
How this deal came together, because it kind of felt like after the Edwin Diaz deal, you guys were done. You had said you potentially wanted to add a bat, maybe some more outfield work, but how did this deal really come together, considering he was the top free agent on the market?
Yeah, I think, we talked about all along, like we didn't feel like we needed to do anything with a really talented club. We added Edwin, which was a big piece to the pen, clearly. And then it was like, okay, let's be patient and see what we can do that makes sense to make our club even better. And, having conversations with Kyle and his group throughout the offseason, it started to come into like, hey, maybe this structure, this shorter term is something that would make sense for both sides. And once that happened, we really engaged, and, I think it all came together within about a week, but gaining traction and moving the ball forward once he was like, okay, I think I want to make a decision here soon. So really happy with how it played out.
Yeah, with how this now makes the outfield look. Of course, Dave Roberts just shared that Kyle's going to be playing in right field, Teoscar Hernandez moving to left field. What do you just like about the setup of that and what that can really do for just the defensive aspect of this game in the outfield for his team?
Yeah, I think anytime you get to add a caliber defender like Kyle, it's going to make your outfield better. And we know, Andy had a great year in center field, and then putting Teo in left where he's comfortable. He's done it before, and we know like that this can bring, the full group and, the overall defensive value, certainly bring it up, which in turn helps our pitchers. It's not something you can actually see every day, and we attribute a lot of it to the pitchers, but defense is something that helps in a meaningful way that probably doesn't get attributed too often to winning games.
In the past, we've talked about, I think it was really when Shohei Ohtani first came over, when you looked at the batting order, it was almost like a video game lineup. Does it feel like that now, in just the talent you guys have in this organization, the competitors, and how you now have a different way of looking at the top of the order, what things could potentially look like? Has it been fun for you just kind of putting those pieces together?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to Blake Snell after the news came out, and I'm like, man, aren't you glad you're on our side and not having to navigate our lineup? So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really hard lineup to navigate, which is the goal, and a lot of different ways to beat you. And I think, the collective unit, nobody having to take on all of the pressure at any given moment, knowing that slumps happen and guys go in and out of hot streaks. But as a whole, when you have this talented of a lineup, that the overall run production should be high.
So Brandon, are you guys done? Are you ever done? Is that a thing? We're
close to done. We can never be done. I won't say anything officially, but we feel very good about this team with spring training a few weeks away.
I love it. Well, it's going to be fun seeing how all of these guys show up and come together in just a few weeks in Arizona. Brandon, congratulations. I know this team is looking for that three-peat, and it's going to be a very exciting year. So thank you, as always, and congrats on today.
Thank you so much.
Kyle Tucker joining the Dodgers on that 4-year, $200.
What made Kyle such a target, especially on that type of contract structure that you guys wound up signing into?
Yeah, when we started the off season and talking about various fits, trade market, free agent market, there was really nobody that moved our World Series odds for 2026 more than Kyle Tucker, both because of his ability and talent and also just need. So those things pairing together. Now, that being said, we talk about this a lot, kind of managing the short term and the long term. In the short term, it's easy to take the core talent we have in place, the nucleus that we have, and say, hey, anything we can add to that. You don't want to be flippant about what we have right now in this moment in time. That being said, we have to try to balance it with 3, 4, 5 years out. And as those guys, the guys who are currently under contract, get out 3, 4, 5 years, infusing younger players over that time is going to be really important for us to be able to maintain. So for us, it was about a shorter term, and that was where our focus was, not adding another long term to the books, just trying to manage the short term and long term. At the beginning of the offseason, you don't know what the likelihood of that is. All you can do is kind of state your strong interest and sell as much as you can. And we've talked about this a lot, of trying to create a destination spot where our own players want to stay, where players from other organizations want to come. And we've started to feel that more and more over the years. And so in those conversations with Kyle, we felt like even though he has longer term offers, that there's still a real chance we can do this on a shorter term. And really it's as simple as we're in a really strong position organizationally, financially, and we feel an immense pressure to pour back into our fans with the love and support they show us every year, and do everything we can on our side to show them that as well. So all of those factors were strongly considered, and the last 3-4 days before the agreement is when we felt like there was a real chance. But until we got a call, 6 o'clock that night, we weren't sure, but really excited by the outcome.
What did you think, and when did you think you really had, did you start to be talking about it when you really had a chance at this?
Doc Gomer and I did a Zoom call with he and his wife. We had connected before, but kind of 2 or 3 days before the agreement, and felt like there was a level of engagement. There was conversation going back and forth about the community and our role in the community, and the philanthropic efforts that they pour themselves. It just got into a lot of detail where we felt like, okay, we've got a real shot. Obviously, they're going to have long-term offers. They're going to have other shorter-term offers. So we got to continue to kind of sell ourselves, but you never really know until you kind of get that call where you sense, okay, we're at the 1 yard line now. It's about just final details.
Andrew, I asked Kyle kind of about the perception about his motor. What did you guys see when you were looking at him, and maybe kind of in this process as you got to know him, did you maybe learn anything about him in that regard?
Yeah, obviously we spend a lot of time digging on players' makeup, competitive makeup, work ethic. We'll get information from clubhouse guys, training staff, teammates, coaches, just to get as much information as we possibly can. And I think he's right. I think his demeanor is such that it's not an outward, exuberant personality. And so I think that can be misconstrued. For us, it's about how much we've got a strong group, we've got strong personalities, for us, it's about how does he compete, how does he work? And for that, we got very comfortable that when he's in the box, when he's in the outfield, he competes as well as anybody. And obviously the talent is immense, but then the work ethic and doing everything he can to post and be out there and be a part of helping us win games, we felt really good with that bet.
Did that come across when you talked to him? Like, did you kind of like maybe learn anything about him in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I think him talking about the details of the game, we've talked about this a lot, of how much we value the total player, the impact in the box, the impact on defense, the impact on the bases, and he talked about that a lot, of how much he cares about the finer points and anything we have that can help him get better in any regard, whether it's on defense, on the bases, in the batter's box. He's like, I'm all for it and would love to continue to grow and get better. So having a guy who has achieved what he has, but still have that kind of growth mindset of how do I get better, those are guys that make it easier to bet on.
When you talk about being in like the strong financial position you guys are, does that manifest almost like when you get to the point of feeling like, okay, there's a real shot, we could get him on these kind of terms, like making the kind of financial offer that's going to make it tough for him to say no, or kind of what goes into like the actual number you guys propose in something like this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we started lower. I think when we've seen these kind of shorter term, higher AAV deals, I don't think they've ever come when they also had a really long, significant deal as well. Not that I can remember. Usually guys take those shorter term deals because the longer term deal hasn't materialized, so it's a chance to kind of reset and go back out to the market. He had that opportunity. And so for us, it was about selling, the opportunity to play with these guys, to play in front of these fans, to play in the city, to connect with this community. And that, who knows, it doesn't mean that it has to be 2, 3, 4 years here. It could be longer than that. And I think for him to choose us when he had other longer term and other shorter term, I think speaks to the growth and progress that we've made on creating a destination spot.
So what do you think about the latest accusations that you're hurting baseball by doing this, and there's going to be a horrible lockout now?
Yeah, I've heard that over the last couple of years. Yeah. Again, for us, all we're consumed with is the partnership that we have with our fans. And our job is to win as many games as we can, to provide a product and a team that fans feel passionate about, connect with, that provide the joys and the ups and downs that come with a season and October and that kind of entertainment, and pouring back into them with how much they pour into us. That's our only focus. And we have created a situation where we're obviously in a way stronger position today than we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And so, foundational pieces that we have put in place have helped create this opportunity. And from Mark and our ownership group, it is all about, repaying that and, fulfilling our end of this kind of joint partnership.
Are there ways that shows itself? Are there ways that shows itself besides, like, obviously signing the guy? I mean, are there ways, like, the way you guys talk about your team, the way you guys talk about your team publicly, and stuff like Bryce Harper said last year, like, only losers hate what Dodgers are doing? Is that stuff that kind of shows itself in other ways besides just obviously signing guys?
I think so. I mean, again, I think it's, the reputation around the league with other players, kind of gets back to the destination spot. This isn't just about let's spend a lot of money. It's also about let's cultivate a really strong farm system. Let's be really strong organizationally, not just at the major league level, but doing everything we can to have a really strong farm system, which in turn gives us more confidence about how good we'll be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So it's, it's all encompassing in terms of our organization, and the destination spot is where players and their families feel incredibly well taken care of. And if they're playing in front of 7,000 people, they don't feel that as much. Playing in front of 50,000 people and seeing the passion and how much people live and die for the Dodgers each summer and each October, I think adds to, the experience and the allure of playing here.
Just to follow on what Bill said, like, this one contract is a tipping point. Like, that seems sort of absurd.
I agree. I agree with that. For us, we don't pay much attention to that because we operate within the rules.
Yeah.
And we do everything we can to put ourselves in the best position, both short-term and long-term. And we're not thinking about more macro things outside of that. It is about how can we win as many games and put ourselves in the best position to win a championship in 2026 without really compromising ourselves out into the future and falling off that proverbial cliff. And so it's the balance and the maintaining of those two things that are our sole focus.
Andrew, when you think about the majority of your free agent contracts over the last few seasons, they haven't really included opt-out clauses. This one does. Does that speak to kind of the short-term, long-term trajectory that you mentioned earlier of trying to balance?
Yeah, again, I think I can't remember a short-term deal where a guy had a longer-term option. So I think part of it is, the market to get someone to do that. But it also aligns with, in 2 years, we'll know a lot more about a lot of things than we do now. And so just because he opts out doesn't mean that we won't be there to try to sign him, and we'll just know a lot more than we know now. Obviously, in any deal, you prefer not to have an opt-out. Generally speaking, I think they're priced very poorly in the market, which is why we have avoided them by and large. And in this case, it just made sense for a confluence of reasons.
Obviously, when the CBA expires, those rules could change. How much did that impact the desire to do something like this now while the rules that are in place are in place?
There's just so much unknown around that. I've now been through a lot of CBAs and have tried to get cute leading into a CBA of like, okay, this is where it might be going. We have no idea. And we are sitting in the cheap seats on that. And for us, it's about whatever the rules are, reading and reacting to it, and doing everything we can within the rules to be as good as we can be.
There's no cheap seats in
Andrew, how did you weigh the decision of signing another player with a qualifying offer, especially as you look to kind of stay healthy as an organization?
Yeah, it was a real cost. I don't think we've ever done this before. But I think the depth of our system put us in a position where, while the cost is still meaningful, it wasn't as significant just because of the position we're in. We have a very strong system up top, but even more than that, I think the depth of our system just allows us this 1 year to have our food budget for the draft meetings exceed our signing bonuses, which I think might happen this year. So not great by any means, but just trying to balance that with doing everything we could to put ourselves in the best position to win a championship in 2026.
Andrew, as far as the outfield picture goes, what does the signing of Kyle Tucker mean just for the overall production of the outfield? How much do you elevate it, and what does it mean for Teoscar Hernandez? You're expecting him to move to left?
Yeah, Teo will move to left. He's excited by it. He's excited that Kyle's joining up with us. I think for Kyle, I think anytime you can add a guy to your lineup that is arguably better against same side pitching, there's just really no holes in what he does offensively. Really balanced splits, first, right, and left. Incredible decision making, really good bat to ball skills. Just the way that will kind of complement and help further round out our offense was something we thought would be significant in terms of the odds increase to our championship quest.
How close does the roster feel to set now?
It feels pretty well set. I think there's still some things we're kicking around and some conversations that have been ongoing for a little bit that we're going to continue to look to enhance and build up depth. We talked about this last year around this time, but our goal is to do everything we can to put ourselves in position to not be on the buy side in July. And in fact, if we can have enough depth where even we can trade some that would be ideal. But
You just don't learn, do you?
that rarely comes together. No, that's why I stood next to Wood.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think you did last year too.
yeah. But we did trade.
That's true.
You're in the market for starting pitching.
I'm sorry.
You're in the market for starting pitching. So
Should we be?
I don't think you have to be, but I mean, if you want. Yeah, what the hell? Why not? I mean, you're ready at this point.
So yeah, there's some things, but I think in terms of more seismic changes, I think we're pretty well set.